welcome to this edition of the Head to Head podcast. I'm your host, Cam McKinney. This is episode number 13 of the podcast where I talk about all things sports. In this edition of the Head to Head podcast, I will be talking about NFL holdouts. There is a big holdout right now with Le'Veon Bell. The other holdouts got considerably paid in the likes of Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald, both becoming the highest paid defensive players in the league. Then you had Julio Jones, who held out for a little bit. Tom Brady had a little bit of a holdout, not really. Gronk kind of had a holdout, not really. Those two don't really count. But NFL holdouts are becoming popular again. They were popularized by the likes of Emmitt Smith, who missed regular season games. Deion Sanders held out a few times. NFL holdouts are used because NFL players don't get paid guaranteed money, and the only people in the sport right now that are getting paid handsomely and guaranteed are quarterbacks. Todd Gurley got paid handsomely only because he's the best running back in the league. But all in all, if you're a quarterback and you're decent to okay, you're going to get Joe Flacco type money, and the rest of the defensive players and offensive players are out there getting nothing guaranteed. Kirk Cousins got $80 million guaranteed, and Le'Veon Bell can't even get $60 million guaranteed. Everyone has their opinions on holdouts. Some people say, well, the player signed the contract, he has to stay with the team. Others will say, football players have like a 5-year window to make what's coming to them. I think most people would agree that Khalil Mack did the right thing by getting the Bears to pay him that money. Where some people have a problem is with a guy like Julio Jones, who clearly is not trying to get out of Atlanta. He just wants to get paid so that he can be a top 5 player. See, I feel sorry for guys like Khalil Mack who haven't got paid yet. I don't feel sorry for the likes of Julio Jones, who just want the number to be the number 1 type receiver in the league. This idea that I have to get the next big contract to beat the next guy and the next guy and the next guy is ridiculous. But I do feel bad for guys who have not gotten paid yet, like Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack. Those are guys who haven't gotten paid handsomely yet. Kirk Cousins waited it out. He played it smart. He got paid. I feel good for him because he played out the process. He wasn't just trying to be the number 1 paid quarterback. He was trying to get paid, period. That's what this league is about. I don't root for guys to hold out just so that they can become top 5 paid. It's just a number, and it's going to get beat every single time. The last few quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers is now the highest paid quarterback ever. That number is going to get beat by the next guy who's a free agent, and the next guy after that, and the next guy after that, until, again, our heads explode. It's ridiculous to hold out for those reasons, but the reasons for Le'Veon Bell holding out aren't ridiculous, even though I do think he should be playing football. See, this you can get torn apart by this issue because it's like, as a fan, you think of it and you're like, they're millionaires. Why are they holding out? And then on the other reason, it's like, in any profession, if you're not respected, you're going to try to do whatever it takes to get that respect. I don't think it's just about the money. I think it's about how the Steelers have treated Le'Veon Bell, how they paid Antonio Brown, how they paid Ben Roethlisberger, how they paid so many of their guys, and now it's time for this guy to get his, and he's not getting it. That would eat you away if it was your profession. But because they're athletes and they're playing a game and they're having fun, we think of it as like, oh, why is he complaining? He's playing a game and I have to go to my 9 to 5 and I have to, wake up in the mornings. And, he's an athlete. It's not the same, but it's similar in that fashion that he just wants the respect that goes with the money. And he's not getting that. And he's going to hold out until someone gives him that. Peace of mind is part of this. It's not just the money, I think. Peace of mind being that he's the best running back, and his window is so small. When Le'Veon Bell hits 30, we're all going to realize why he held out, because his stats are going to diminish, and it looks like he might not get that huge payday after all. But with holdouts, I think you have to go case-by-case example. Again, Le'Veon Bell, I agree with. Khalil Mack, I agree with. Aaron Donald, I'd agreed with. I don't agree with Julio Jones because, again, Julio Jones, I feel like, yes, he was getting paid. He agreed to that contract, and at the time, that was a rich contract. But because time's gone on, he's no longer the highest paid guy, and he thinks he should be, and it's just about respect. Yes, I told you that I care about respect, but being a top 5 guy should not matter that much to a winning team. The fact that he's gone to a Super Bowl should matter more. The fact that he should want to go back to more and more Super Bowls. The problem with these holdouts is that it affects the winning. The Steelers, to me, are not going to win a Super Bowl if Le'Veon Bell misses significant time. And that's the part that's sad for fans because, again, the Steelers are one of the few teams that are worth watching if he's on the field. NFL players need to play. The problem with Le'Veon Bell's holdout is that he's getting older. He's a running back. He needs to get paid now. And this is why he has to take this dramatic turn. Khalil Mack didn't have to get paid now. He probably could have waited it out. The same with Donald. But Le'Veon Bell's situation in particular, he needs to get paid now. By the time he hits 30, he's going to become LaDainian Tomlinson in his old age. He's going to become Frank Gore at his old age. He's going to get diminished stats. And that's going to affect the bottom line. And the bottom line for him is getting paid with wherever it takes him. He needs to get paid, and he needs to get paid now. Holdouts in other sports just don't happen because all of their contracts are guaranteed. Baseball players would never hold out. Basketball players would never hold out. Football players sometimes have to hold out because their contracts are not guaranteed. And until we get to a place where, alright, we're never going to get to a place where every single contract is guaranteed. But I believe if you're like a top 100 player in this league, you should probably get a guaranteed contract. I think we're going to get to that point, but it's going to become slowly, and it's not going to become sooner rather than later. It's going to take a while. But I think what's going to have to happen, and what's sad, is it's not going to happen in the time of Le'Veon Bell. It's not going to happen with some of these guys who are trying to get paid. Earl Thomas is trying to get paid. He's maybe holding out for the Seahawks. We don't really know about that situation. Again, holdouts are going... Another thing that players have to realize is that fans are never going to root for you to hold out. I understand why you hold out, and I understand why you report to camp. Le'Veon Bell has been called out by his teammates. And again, people are going to say teammates shouldn't talk about his money. It's their bottom line, too. They get the rewards. It's a team game, so it's their business when one of their teammates doesn't show up and perform. And if that bothers them, I think they have the rights to freely speak about, listen, this issue of, you can't talk about another man's money. You can if he's affecting your money. They're a team. Some of these offensive linemen need Le'Veon Bell to make them look good also. And again, the Steelers' chance of winning a Super Bowl rests in the hands of Le'Veon Bell, Big Ben Roethlisberger, and Antonio Brown. And right now, they only have 2 out of the 3 of them. They need both players. And again, how management handles holdouts is always bad. Mike Tomlin and the Steelers are going to say, we're only going to talk about the guys who are here. That's affecting how Le'Veon Bell, just once, I wish a team would just come out and say, we respect this guy. We hope to get something done. He matters to us. I am so sick of NFL teams saying, we only care about the people who are here. That's not true at all. It's not. They care about Le'Veon Bell. They need Le'Veon Bell, and they need him now. Sooner rather than later. They need him to win a Super Bowl. This is like probably their last chance because next year, I guarantee you, Le'Veon Bell will not be a Pittsburgh Steeler. This is their last year with Big Ben. This is their last year with Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell. And if they don't win a Super Bowl in those years that those 3 were together, that is pathetic. Those 3 guys should get you a Super Bowl. Hands down, they should get you a Super Bowl. When it comes to the Khalil Mack and the Raiders situation, I don't really understand blaming John Gruden. He doesn't pay people. I get that he got $100 million, and oh my God, the new coach gets paid and the player doesn't. That's a management decision. Management wasn't going to pay Khalil Mack even if John Gruden didn't become the head coach. And this nonsense that, John Gruden didn't talk to the player. He never met the player. We're acting like he didn't try to meet the player. Has it been confirmed? If Khalil Mack is ignoring the team, he's not reporting, the coach isn't going to sort him out because he matters so much to the Raiders. He doesn't matter that much. I don't believe in this idea that a defensive player should be making that kind of money. Personally, I think it should be offensive players. But hey, Khalil Mack's a great player, and the market says Khalil Mack can get paid that way. Then go ahead and get paid that way. But the Bears will not win a Super Bowl as long as Khalil Mack is the highest paid player on the team. They won't. They will not win a Super Bowl. They are going to need a quarterback who is their best player on the team. That is how that works. So getting Khalil Mack is a nice move. And again, don't blame John Gruden for the holdout, but I mean, come on. It's nonsense to blame the Raiders. Report. I don't know. He didn't want to be a Raider. If he didn't want to be a Raider, why am I going to blame the Raiders? I don't know. It's just a weird thing to blame the team that has the player that's holding out. They didn't make him hold out. He didn't want to meet John Gruden. This idea like, John Gruden was just like, I don't want to meet him. I don't believe that, and I find that to be dumb criticism on the part of the fans to John Gruden. Listen, I don't want a head coach to make $100 million, but that doesn't mean I'm going to blame him for upper management decisions. They were never going to pay Khalil Mack. If Jack Del Rio was the head coach, or if I was the head coach, Khalil Mack was never going to make that kind of money with the Raiders. And that's why he held out to not be a Raider. I don't think Khalil Mack held out to become a Raider again. I think he wanted to move on somewhere like Chicago and leave the Raiders because he was sick of the situation because they were never going to pay him. Ever. They were never going to pay Khalil Mack the type of money that he thinks he deserves. The Aaron Donald holdout was different because he was seeing them pay Ndamukong Suh, Brandon Cooks, all these guys who wasn't a Ram. They were bringing in new players, and I can see how that could bother the face of the franchise that everyone else is getting paid and not you. So Aaron Donald's holdout, I actually agree with because he cannot be the 5th or 6th highest paid player on his own team. And especially when it's all outsiders getting paid. Because when outsiders are getting paid, I think the Rams had to pay their own. I understand that holdout. I understand most holdouts in most situations. But again, fans are never going to be on the player's side. They pay for tickets. They play fantasy football. They pay for their salaries. Fans are fully invested in a good and a bad way. They are never, ever, ever going to truly understand why a man who plays a game would not play that game because of money. They are never going to understand that because a fan is never going to look at a team game as a job. They're not going to look at it. And I don't know if they should look at it that way. I have difficulties looking at it that way. Like a baseball player is not the same as a fireman. It's not the same as a cop. A football player is not the same as a pilot. It's not the same type of job. It is not looked upon as labor. But it is a business, though. And these players have to do their business. We don't criticize ownerships when they're cold towards the players, but we criticize the players when they're cold towards the ownership because it looks like they're being cold towards the fan base, which is not the problem at all. Holdouts are never about fans. It's about the greedy NFL owner not wanting to pay the star player. It has never ever, there's never been an NFL holdout that was about a fan base. NFL holdouts have always and will always be about money and difference of opinions with ownership. They will never be about the fan base, but the fan base will take things personally. Raiders fans probably hate Khalil Mack right now. Steelers fans are probably upset with Le'Veon Bell right now. But it has nothing to do with them at all. It's about their owners not paying those players. But we're not going to criticize those owners because we don't root for star athletes to get $100 million. I know plenty of people who roll their eyes when they see those contracts. And yes, they're really big contracts and they $100 million and blah, blah, blah. Some of them aren't guaranteed, and if that guy breaks his knee tomorrow, he is deemed useless. How many of our jobs outside of sports is that possible? It's not. You wouldn't get fired because of injury. This is the one field where you will get fired if you are injured. There's no insurance. There's no nothing. If he twists his leg, if Le'Veon Bell twists his leg tomorrow, he is deemed useless by his profession, and he loses $100 million. Sometimes we don't look at the facts and we just think of it as a game. But there's serious consequences in that. He could lose $100 million. $100 million. There's no way I will ever come close to gaining or losing that amount of money ever. And most of us can't even comprehend that amount of money. But because we think of it, oh, he's just playing football. Why is he not on the field? What's going on here? Get your butt on the field. This is about us. This is about winning. This is about all those things. This is where the business side gets into it. And this is where the business side affects the play on the field. It's not just a game to these people. Some of them have come up in poverty and bad situations. They hold out because it's their chance to reach the finish line. It's their chance to get the golden ticket. Their paycheck. They need it. Le'Veon Bell, it's a business decision. It's his only chance to get paid. Because, again, in most professions, you can get paid up until you're 50, 60, 70, sometimes even 80. Le'Veon Bell has like a 5-year window to get paid. And most people cannot comprehend. But think about this, from age, let's say, 35 to whatever, Le'Veon Bell will not have another chance to make millions upon millions of dollars. And that's sometimes something that fans overlook, is this ultimate chance to get paid, which none of us will ever understand. There is no other profession where it's this short of a window to get paid. Rock stars can still go to concerts. Athletes cannot perform sports when their bodies are overtaken with old age and injuries. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. I think fans have to look at holdouts differently from now on, because I think there's going to be more and more of them, because these teams don't want to pay guaranteed money to non-quarterbacks. And there's going to be more holdouts of guys like a Khalil Mack, like a Le'Veon Bell, like a bunch of other people, because as long as the quarterback is the only position getting paid in the NFL, people are going to feel spited by the league, and defensive players and running backs and receivers and a bunch of people are going to hold out. And finally, remember this: the holdouts are acceptable if they're not about being a top 5 paid guy. That is the one holdout I will never truly understand. I don't want Julio Jones to hold out because Brandon Cook's got a bigger contract and he's in the top 5 and you're not. I find that reason to be utterly pointless and ridiculous. But I understand holding out to get your one big contract. For me, that's understandable. Le'Veon Bell has been good for years. Le'Veon Bell deserves the money, the glory, the respect of the Steelers. That's what he wants most people. He wants their respect. Money is how these teams show respect. Not by saying, oh, we only care about the people that are here. We only care about who's in the building. Show Le'Veon Bell respect. They can't pay him right now because he's been franchised and they can't work out another contract. But they should definitely try to make things work with Le'Veon Bell, because this is their last year of this window. NFL holdouts are not as bad as some people make them out to be, and I don't think that it makes players greedy and selfish. And I feel for players, because I understand how small the window is. I just think most fans don't understand how small that window is to get paid in this league. It's not the players' fault, and the players are not trying to spite the fans. They are trying to spite the team to get paid. That does it for this edition of the Head to Head podcast. Remember to listen to this podcast weekly on the iTunes podcast app. Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for more of the Head to Head podcast. I'm Cam McKinney. That's all, folks.